I think I can be pretty special. I think I can impact a lot in the NBA, especially with my size and my shooting ability and athleticism and just being a humble person. Ben McLemore. Yo, guys, what is going on? It is bright and early on this Wednesday, August 19th. This is going to be a little bit of a weird episode. So, I'm actually not going to be on this episode where we're going to be talking about an NFL player breakdown. So, I'm actually in a road trip right now up in Mount Shasta and Lake Tahoe. So, I wasn't able to record for this episode. This one's just going to be the other two guys. But I guarantee it's going to be a banger, and I'll be back on Friday. But let the other guys explain what we're talking about. All right, peace.
So today we're going to be talking about one of the most controversial figures in football in the 2000s, Chad Ochocinco Johnson. Now, individually, Chad Ochocinco was a great player. He put up great individual numbers for the Bengals, but this was just a team that never found much success, only making the playoffs twice in his tenure with them. But Ochocinco did have some off the field issues as well, but he was a really fun and entertaining player to watch. He was also like I don't think people give him enough credit for being such a great route runner, and his footwork is just impeccable. And he's just a player we at TTP here really respect. We definitely think he deserves the recognition of being a Hall of Famer. And Chirag, do you agree with that?
I mean, I don't know about going that far to say should
I,
be a Hall of
I I
Famer,
think he
but
deserves it. I think he
I
deserves
think
it.
the reason I like Chad so much is just because he'd always be an entertainer. Um,
Yeah, he's a
but
personality. There's no one like that today, you know?
he'd also you know he'd step up on the field no matter what, and I think that's really
Exactly.
rare to find a player that can do both of those things at a high level.
Yeah, and
He's a renaissance man, to put it
he
simply.
is. He has this rare, unrivaled confidence that no one else has in his own individual game. And I know some people say, he's not humble, blah blah blah, but he's different. He's confident about who he is, what he can do on the field, and that may be why he was also so successful as a football player. Now, going into some details about Chad Johnson, early in his life, Chad, who was from Miami, Florida, was a Dolphins fan growing up. Now, even as a kid, Chad did actually get in trouble quite a bit, but these are just fun stories. Like, he loved sports, but he didn't have interest in school. And apparently, when he was 10 years old, he crashed the family car and defended his actions by saying he was taken to the car wash. Just classic Chad stuff right there. It's just it's pretty funny. But
Just love to see it. Love to see
love
it.
to see it. But kudos to Chad for not falling into the what he could have fallen into, because he was surrounded by a bad area that was filled with things that at that age could have, if he was exposed to them, could have really tainted how he lived or whatever. But he was able to draw the line and realize that these are things that are not good for him. So he took his focus on sports, on football specifically. Now, one of Chad's cousins, which was Keyshawn Johnson, had he may have been kind of that influence for him, showing him that this could happen. Now, help support the family with football. That's when he really made that determination to play football. And this is just something I found out by reading some biography about him. I'm pretty sure this is accurate information, but you know, yeah. And then Chad and when he was entering college, he went to Langston University, and once again, he didn't really have the academic aspect of things down, and he was eventually kicked out of this school as well. But a teacher at the Miami school system told Chad that he could have a great opportunity at Santa Monica College. And they had a decent football program, and Chad Johnson actually lined up with Steve Smith Sr. So, two great receivers in the NFL, but
Possible Hall of Famers, both of them. I mean, Steve Smith
both
more than
possible Hall
Chad,
of
but
Famers. Yeah, both just tremendous players, definitely. And that's when you saw Chad have a good time. Whenever a touchdown was scored, he would dance. That was the time where you really started seeing Chad, like, he enjoyed himself playing football, which is something that you'd love to see. And eventually some scouts in other colleges actually started noticing him. For example, Oklahoma State, UCLA, USC, San Diego State, they all reached out to him. He chose to sign with Oklahoma State. Now, Ochocinco had to get
Oregon State.
Oregon State. What did I say?
Oklahoma State.
I thought I said Ochocinco State. Okay, I'm sorry. I'm out of it. What am I saying? Okay, not Ochocinco State. All right. So he joined the team in 2001, and he was, I would say, a big part of their success. He was not really high on the depth chart to start the year, but he eventually got everything down and became a huge part of that team. He ended with 37 catches for 806 yards and 8 touchdowns. And this team itself actually also had TJ Hushmandaza, who was a teammate of his in Cincinnati as well. But this team actually found a lot of success with both these two receivers. They went 11-1 this year. They were ranked number 4, and their only loss came in overtime to Washington. So overall, just a really great team. Now, and Chad was seriously looking like a really great prospect and a high draft pick. People thought he'd be picked pretty early, maybe even first round, but he kind of his play wasn't as, apparently to them, wasn't, I guess, great in the combine, and he eventually fell to 36 by the Bengals. And the Bengals also got TJ Hushmandaza in that draft. Now, at the time, since he was just not a good team, the quarterbacks were John Kitna, and at running back they have Corey Dillon. But other than that, there was just really no one there that could make a difference. And his rookie season wasn't anything too notable, but in his second season is when he really made a bang. He that season he only started 14 games. He had 70 receptions for nearly 1,200 yards and 5 touchdowns. So around also 17 yards per reception, which is, I'd say, decently efficient. But once again, this team wasn't very good. But also consider that this team played in a really difficult division with the Ravens, the Browns, and the Steelers. The Ravens had one of the most striking defenses of the league with, I think, was Ed Reed there at that time? I'm pretty sure Ed Reed was there at that time. Yeah, I'm pretty sure Ed Reed was there at the time. Ray Lewis, so, and also the Steelers, they also had a really good defense at the time. They were both overall just really great teams.
Yeah, this is probably later later this division gets a lot better, but yeah, it was just a really tough division, a lot of great teams.
Yeah, it was a tough division to work in and succeed in, but Chad did it regardless. And during the offseason after the second season, Chad actually worked with Deion Sanders, and he really helped him polish his game. And Then in 2003, Chad Johnson had one of the best seasons, I would say, arguably one of the best seasons of his career, not the best yet. That's going to be in 2005, when he finished with nearly 1,400 yards on 90 receptions and 10 touchdowns. And Chad was just really making plays this season, and Cincinnati actually saw an improvement this year when they went 8-8 with new coach Marvin Lewis. And we know now Marvin Lewis isn't the greatest coach, but hey, at that time he looked like he was improving this team, and it was just impressive to see that this team was improving. However, the next season again they went 8-8, and here's the thing. This is the season where they actually got Carson Palmer, in 2004. But you expect the team to improve from year in, year out, but maybe the season after is when they're really going to take the jump. Now Carson Palmer at this time was he was expected to be a pretty decent quarterback, and him and Chad had actually a great connection. And after this 8-8 season in 2004, the Bengals really stepped up in 2005. And actually, Carson Palmer himself had an amazing season that year as well. Amazing, maybe a little too much, but he had a really good season that year.
No, he had 32 TDs, 12 interceptions.
Yeah, that's really good. That's really good
pretty good.
That's really good for a second year in the league. That's really good. And they finished
I forgot how young Carson was. He was 26.
That's true. Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah, he was 26, and this is his second season of his career. He throws nearly 4,000 yards, 32 touchdowns, and only 12 picks. So that's also a pretty decent ratio, I would say. We can both agree on that for sure. And him and Chad actually led this team to a 11-5 record and a first in that very crowded division. And Chad that season, this is the most important or the best Chad season we'll look at. He finished with 97 receptions, 1,432 yards, and 9 touchdowns, with a really high catch percentage this year, is the highest of his career, 63%. And that can be, also due in partly to his game, but also due to, Carson Palmer being at the quarterback position, having better quarterbacks to throw to him, so he doesn't have to really do much of the work when, trying to make that catch. And
I didn't realize this, but Rudy Johnson,
at running back,
1,458 yards this season. 12 TDs. Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize
that's great.
No,
yeah, I didn't know he was that good either.
Yeah, this is a flash of greatness.
Yeah, a flash of greatness by this team right here. Rudy Johnson, Carson Palmer, and Chad Johnson. Just those three guys. They're really you wouldn't. I did not expect the Rudy Johnson thing, but okay, it's impressive, and no wonder this team was so good that year actually. But they played the Steelers in the wild card game, and then Palmer had a knee injury in the first quarter, which was really hard to see because this team really looked like they had the chance to go far in this playoffs. But in this first quarter against Pittsburgh, he goes down, and Cincinnati actually does keep up with them pretty well. They had the score. They were up 17-7 at a point, but they ultimately lost because they got outscored 17-0 in the second half. And they eventually lost 31-17, which is, it's kind of just hard to see, a team that played so well the entire season and their playoff hopes getting dashed because of an injury. It was hard to see. But this is the beginning of their wild card woes with what's his name? Marvin Lewis. So, then I would say this is a good transition into the 2006 season, which Chirag's going to talk about more. Wait, actually, can I mention one more thing?
Yeah.
2005. All right. So another thing that happened in 2005 is that Chad Johnson kept this checklist that saw which corners actually successfully covered him. And as a joke, Marvin Lewis, he made his list. Did Chad Johnson do everything he could to lead his team to victory? And it was kind of a parody, questioning Johnson's performance. But apparently, and this is according to the Bengals official website, quote on Wikipedia, it says, the list was aimed to antagonize their divisional rival, the Baltimore Ravens, whom the Bengals will play in 4 days. And Chad was not really particularly pleased with the list because, he really, liked the older list and, and that really made him get back the original one. But yeah, it's kind of complicated to explain, but you know how it is. But yeah, just a little funny thing to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much, to be honest, I don't know what Marvin Lewis was trying to do there.
I don't know.
I think Chad was just trying to talk some trash. I'm not sure
And have a
what
good
Marvin
time.
was trying to accomplish. Maybe he was trying to keep him grounded, but
It doesn't work. We can't ground
Chad.
Chad Johnson. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah,
So
you can talk about 2006 now.
yeah. So before we move on, I'd just also like to add that Chad actually has 5 cousins that made it to the NFL. So he obviously had Keyshawn Johnson, who was a first overall pick. Then he had from the Roll family, he had 4 cousins.
Yeah, Samari.
Samari, Antrell, Brian, and Myron, and it's just insane. Like I don't think I know any. I've seen any NFL family have 6 people that made it to the NFL, which is just crazy. It just talks about the talent. But moving on to this 2006 season, the Bengals really relied on Chad. He was one of the cornerstones in this offense, on this team in general. Even though Marvin Lewis, not sure there was some feud at this time, but later on we see a little bit of friction. But in this season, he signed an extension for 6 years, $35.5 million, which extends him to the 2011 season. So we see that the Bengals want to keep Chad for a while. They want to keep him around. At least at this time, that's what it seems like.
Hey, also, I know Chad was good. I know Chad was good this season, but it's also worth shouting out Rudy Johnson once again.
Wow.
He put up,
what were stats this season?
1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns.
Wow,
dude! Wow, this guy's
just a complete player.
This guy's a stud, dude.
He's a stud.
Yeah, go on.
But 2006 season, Chad actually started this year with a mohawk. It was a bleached mohawk.
I'll get that up there.
Yeah. I'm not sure if this was inspiration for Paul Pogba in the future, but it was an interesting statement that Johnson made. As a result, he started the first 8 weeks terribly. He got 2 TDs with 483 yards, and then once he shaved off his mohawk, he went back to his old ways. Additionally, in week 7, in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month, Chad changed his last name, or not officially, but he told reporters to call him Ochocinco in honor of his number 85. And as some of you probably know, Ochocinco isn't the correct way of saying 85 in Spanish. I believe it's 85, but I don't think Chad cared at all. But he did this in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month. But after those first 8 weeks with the mohawk, he shaved it off, and then he went back to his Chad ways. He broke the record for the most yards in back-to-back games with 450 yards. This as recently in 2013, it was broken by Josh Gordon, who had 498 yards. But he exploded after this happened. But in this 2006 season, he finished with 1,369 yards, 87 receptions, 7 TDs. He actually led the league in yards this season. So just another great season by Chad. At this point, it's been 6 consecutive 1,000-yard seasons, which is impressive for any wide receiver. But he was a Pro Bowler this year. He got his first or second All-Pro nomination. Just a great season by Chad. The Bengals were not good as usual, but what's new? Now moving on to the 2007 season, we see that in his first game of the season, Chad has another infamous moment. He decides to put on a jacket resembling the Hall of Fame blazer, and on the back he says Hall of Fame class of 20 and then two question marks. So
Love the confidence.
love the confidence. I mean, he was at this point he was going into his seventh season of 1,000 yards consecutively.
Yeah, and you would expect him to eventually keep being this good.
I mean, he's 29. He's 29. He's at this time he thinks his team likes him. He is on contract for till 2011. So, at this point it's confidence, but it's also it's understandable because of his level of play on the field.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in week 2 he starts breaking some Bengals receiving records. So he broke the receiving yard record with 7,229 yards at this time. Obviously, he gets more later in his career. And then he also passes the franchise reception record later this season. He finishes this year with 1,440 yards, 93 receptions. This is his career season in yards with 1,440. He gets 8 TDs, just pretty consistent Chad numbers. But it just seems like a lot of this work he does on the field, you can't really recognize it when it matters, in the playoffs. Because the Bengals they're not good. So it's hard to, compare him to some of the greats, some of the Hall of Famers when he's not been on these, great teams.
And as you said, like at this time, the division just got better. This is the Ravens with a super good defense. You got the Steelers with Roethlisberger. I think Jerome Bettis was there at that time, around that time too. You just got really good players on these teams in this division. The Browns are another story, but it's hard to go against these teams, twice a year and expect, to have so much success, especially with a team like the Bengals. Right? I don't blame
especially
Chad.
the defenses on these Steelers, Ravens teams. Their secondaries are super developed.
Insane.
Yeah. Just think about it, like running down the middle, you can get clocked by
Troy Polamalu
or Ray Lewis, obviously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And at that time, rules were more lax too. You could literally just like.
I don't know about you, but there was this infamous clip where Chad was trying to block Ray Lewis, and then
Yeah.
So some great moments. Some of the best, I think, sound effects moments I've seen. If any player was with Chad.
Yeah. You guys should check that out. It's very funny.
Yeah. There's some other ones where he's at a ref asked if he took anything for the game. He responded with a Viagra. Just some great wholesome content. For all of you guys, you can check it out. But moving on to the 2008 season, so this is where we see a little bit of friction with the Bengals. So Chad basically said that Marvin Lewis didn't have his back with the team. I'm not sure what the exact issue was, but Chad was saying that Marvin Lewis didn't have his back, and then how he thought that Chad was cancer for the team. Just a lot of things where Chad was not happy with how the team was doing and how they thought of him. So he was actually threatening to sit out this season, and he was trying to get traded to the Redskins, and the Bengals denied this trade. And then he just kept trying to get out of the Bengals situation. He said that he wanted a change of scenery just because of the way Marvin Lewis treated him, the way the organization saw him. But he actually also officially changed his name on August 29, 2008 to Ochocinco. So before this, the Bengals were not allowing him to wear Ochocinco on his jersey because it wasn't his official name. But now that he changed his name, he was able to wear Ochocinco on the back of his jersey. And this also turned out to be Chad's worst season with the Bengals, at least, with 53 receptions for 540 yards. Carson got injured after the Bengals went 0-8, and it was just a really bad season. Bengals finished 4-11 and won.
Yeah.
The worst. I think this is the worst. Maybe not his rookie season, but this is just a really bad season, especially this far in Chad's career. I think he'd expect more. And there's a lot of unrest with the team, with the organization, the way the organization saw him. So just a lot of things going on right now. Now moving into 2010 season, Chad broke another Bengals record for most TD catches, and this season was all right for Chad. My mistake. I skipped 2009. So in the 2009 season, there's some more trade rumors with the Eagles and Giants, but the Bengals didn't budge at all. They just kept him on the squad. And we have some more iconic moments this season. So in a preseason game on August 20th, 2009, Chad was actually used as a kicker for an extra point, and he was successful. Recently there have been videos where Chad's been kicking, 60-plus yard field goals. He's trying to get back in the league or something like that. I'm not really sure.
Yeah,
But
soccer too.
yeah, I think he has a soccer background. I think actually during the lockout he played some soccer for some team. I'm not really sure, but I remember reading about that. So yeah, it's a rare occurrence. I can't remember the last time a wide receiver kicked a field goal. I'm not sure if you have any insight on that, but he's a renaissance man, to put it simply. He can do it all. But this season was good for Chad. Good comeback, 1,047 yards, 72 receptions, 9 TDs, just normal Chad numbers, back to how he was before. But once again, a lot of friction with this organization. 2010 season started. He broke the Bengals record for TD catches. Another all right season, but just not back to where he was the previous year. He had 67 receptions for 831 yards.
Yeah.
Just this is where you kind of see, I'm not sure, the reason why, but this is where you see Chad's downfall in a way, or when he starts losing his touch.
Wait.
Not sure if this is organizational. Not sure if he's not getting enough looks. But this is what happened. And then 2011 season, he gets traded to the Patriots. This basically marks the end of his career. He was a bench player mostly the season. He didn't even play in the AFC Championship. He was benched.
He played a little bit in the Super Bowl though.
He played a
Actually,
little bit in the Super Bowl.
the reason he was signed by the Patriots was apparently like Bill Belichick really liked
It was a
Chad
trade.
Johnson.
It was a trade.
A trade, or the reason they traded for him was because Belichick apparently like really liked him. Like they would always talk before games. He just loved his game in general, and he just, I guess, wanted to get him. I guess maybe he was a missing piece for that team. At least that's what they thought, maybe. But he didn't really live up, I guess, to those Patriot standards. But it is what it is.
I mean, that doesn't tell you how good of a player Chad is, as Bill Belichick enjoys his game.
Exactly.
I don't know, because we'll get into this later, but Chad was just, I think people mistook him for a clown, some might say, but he was a lot more than that as a player. He was super efficient. His feet were amazing. Just things we haven't seen before he did that. But just to finish off his career, after this New England season, he was a free agent. He signed with the Dolphins, and then he changed his name back from Ochocinco to Johnson on July 24th, 2012. And actually, he was released during this time. There's another infamous Hard Knocks clip where Johnson was arrested for, I believe it was headbutting his wife. So he was arrested for that, and then released. It's unfortunate how it ended.
Yeah, definitely.
It was a very sudden, and going from a starter on the Bengals to being benched on the Patriots, and then released, cut from the team. Yeah, looking back at Chad's career, he had, I believe, 7 or 8. He had 8 1,000-yard seasons. It's an impressive number. He was super efficient. He was a great player. Yeah, his footwork was amazing, as we talked about. His feet, he had some of the greatest moments on sound effects. Great trash talker, very iconic player. Child please.
Child please.
He'd always eat McDonald's to train.
Fun guy.
I think as in our generation, I can't think of a player that who had that much of a personality as Chad Johnson.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess to answer this final question, is he a Hall of Famer? What's your final answer on that? What's your standing?
I don't think in this decade he's gonna make the Hall of Fame, but maybe next decade.
I guess. I mean, I think he's deserving of it. Just, if you look at these numbers, especially on a Bengals team in which his quarterbacks were at a point they were John Kitna for 3 years, and he still had over 1,000 years in those seasons. Right?
But
they had 2 good seasons when he was with them. He posted 1,000 yards, eight seasons, 7 in a row, right? And
sure.
And I just think and he broke so many franchise records as well. And considering the divisions he played with, I guess it's an uncontrollable situation. So, maybe I guess he's not, fully deserving of it just because of, his other accomplishments as well aren't as great. But, it is what it is. I think he should be a Hall of Famer, but, it's a big discussion to have, I'd say.
I think he could be a Hall of Famer.
Eventually.
I think eventually he'll be a Hall of Famer. I just, compared to a lot of these other receivers and more, Hines Ward, for example, I think, more further back, Sterling Sharp had a better 10-year run. Calvin Johnson, obviously. Andre Johnson, Steve Smith, Torrey Holt, Reggie Wayne. I think there's a lot of other guys.
Reggie Wayne's already been in the Hall of Fame.
No, he's not.
Yeah, he is. Right? Didn't it happen recently?
Is he?
Reggie Wayne. Yeah. No, not yet. Never mind.
He's not yet.
Okay, but there's a thing called the Hall of Fame monitor, and his is super high. He's 7th or 10th on it.
That's why I'm saying he should probably be. Anquan Boldin. The list can go on. I think that maybe eventually, 20 years, Chad Johnson can be a Hall of Famer.
20 years, dude. Who wants to wait that long?
I'm just saying, I don't think it's gonna happen anytime soon.
Yeah, that's fair. I agree.
I'm not sure. He's one of those players that you can't really tell what he could have done if he played, 3-4 more seasons. Not really sure, if he just, lost the gas or the situation was just, ruining his career. But I think the 8-year run is one of the best of all time. Super consistent. Just overall, he was a great player, a great leader in some ways. He was one of the best trash talkers. I think he made Twitter popular for trash talking. He tried to start tweeting during NFL games, but was banned by the NFL. Just overall, I think he just changed the way football was played as a receiver specifically. I can't remember a receiver at that, during that time that talked as much trash as Chad. Mm-hmm. And he lived up to it, He'd tell, corners his routes, and he'd still beat them on the route.
He'd still beat them. That's how confident he was,
Yeah, and it's just amazing. Like I can't even the body control, the way he can manipulate his body.
It's just in recent years.
In recent years, I've been looking at D-Hop and the way he moves his body on the field, his footwork. It resembles a lot of Chad, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, and just to get some reference to this Hall of Fame monitor, so a score of 100 is typically the average score for
But
a Hall of Fame
it's slightly
inductee in the
inflated
modern
though.
era.
It's slightly inflated
Yeah, it's slightly inflated. Yeah,
because Jerry Rice has like 300 or something
yeah.
insane.
But
So
Chad Johnson, for reference, is at 63. So I guess that gives you some insight into, how I guess he's not that close to, you know, being in the Hall of Fame yet, at least. But yeah, so I think
yeah, I mean
if
like
you have
in the
anything else
past
to add,
in the
okay, yeah,
past
go ahead.
there have been a lot of like players that you know their Hall of Fame monitor score is pretty low. I think the lowest is um 55. Tommy McDonald, good old Tommy.
Uh, yeah, Tommy McDonald,
He
Hall
played
of
in
Fame.
the 50s, late 50s, early 60s. So,
Yeah.
maybe in 50 years Chad will make the Hall of Fame.
Yo, why are
Maybe.
you gonna do him like that, bro? Wait,
I'm just saying.
I think
You know.
one that people may have heard of, maybe Harold Carmichael. He had a pretty low score, and he also made the Hall of Fame. Lynn Swan.
Yeah, but
But
Harold was 6'8", bro.
yeah, that is true. It's crazy.
Yeah. But
Okay. Do you have anything else to add, or?
yeah, I mean, I'll just summarize. Chad, entertainer first, player first. That's how I'd say it. Uh, you just what you did on the field really changed the way people thought about football. People would try to watch football for Chad. I think as an athlete in the NFL, a lot of times it's hard to market yourself, but I think Chad was able to create a personality of his own. And when you put the helmet on, everyone looks the same. But Chad was one of the most undistinguishable, or the most distinguishable
Distinguishable.
players on the field. I think that's what really amazes me about him.
Yeah,
Just
he stood out,
overall, just amazing.
and he stood out every time he was there. And I think, now that we've given this good summary about him, I think this is a good time to wrap up this episode on Chad. Okay,
Greatest Bengal of all time.
greatest Bengal of
Greatest
all
Bengal
time.
of all
I'm
time.
not disputing that. I agree. But let us know your thoughts in the comments about Chad Ochocinco Johnson. And yeah, that should about do it. All right, great.
Live
Peace.
Moss.
Okay.